The massive screen in the United Earth Council chamber showed a planet that looked like it had come straight from hell. Swirling storms of purple and red covered its surface, while lightning bolts bigger than cities flashed constantly through its atmosphere. This was planet DX-2847, and it was humanity's last hope. Commander Jack Stone stood before the council members, his weathered face showing the determination that had made him famous among Earth's space exploration teams. He pointed at the deadly world rotating on the screen behind him. "Ladies and gentlemen of the council," he said, his voice firm and clear, "Earth has reached its breaking point. We have 15 billion people, not enough food, and our resources are almost gone. We've searched for 50 years, and this is the only planet within reach that has a solid surface and the basic elements needed to support life." An older council member leaned forward, her eyes narrow with concern. "Commander Stone, this is a Class 14 planet. Nothing from Earth can survive there. The gravity is more than twice what we're used to. The rain is acidic enough to melt steel. Even the plants are deadly." Stone nodded, a slight smile appearing on his face. "You're right about all of that. But what if I told you these terrible conditions are exactly what we need?" The council chamber burst into confused whispers. Stone waited for them to quiet down before continuing. He tapped his tablet, and new images appeared on the screen. Designs for massive protective structures and advanced training facilities. "I'm proposing Project Evolution," he explained. "Instead of trying to change the planet to suit us, we'll use its harsh conditions to make ourselves stronger. We'll build a survival arena, the ultimate training ground for humanity." The images changed again, showing complex bioengineering facilities and adaptation chambers. "Our scientists have developed new technologies that can help humans adapt to extreme conditions. The heavy gravity will make our bones and muscles stronger. The deadly atmosphere will push us to develop better protection systems. Even the aggressive wildlife will force us to become smarter and more resourceful." "This is madness," another council member shouted. "You're talking about sending people to die." Stone's expression hardened. "I'm talking about giving humanity a chance to survive. Our initial team will be 50 volunteers, the best engineers, scientists, and builders Earth has to offer. Yes, it will be dangerous. Yes, we might lose some people. But if we succeed, we'll have a solution not just for our overcrowding, but for making humanity strong enough to survive anywhere in the galaxy." The council chamber fell silent as Stone showed them the final part of his presentation. Projected statistics of Earth's collapse within the next 20 years, if nothing was done. The numbers were worse than most had expected. The head of the council, an old man who had seen Earth through many crises, spoke up. "How soon can your team be ready?" "We've been preparing for 6 months," Stone replied. "The ships are ready. The equipment is built. We just need your approval." The voting took less than an hour. Project Evolution was approved by a narrow margin. As Stone left the chamber, he received the first list of volunteers. He wasn't surprised to see that more than 500 people had already signed up, knowing full well that they might never return. 2 months later, 3 massive ships lifted off from Earth's last remaining spaceport. Inside, the 50 members of the initial team slept in stasis pods, their bodies already beginning the first stages of adaptation. Their cargo holds were filled with everything humanity had learned about survival over thousands of years. As the ships accelerated toward their new home, Earth's billions watched through their screens. Some called it a suicide mission. Others said it was humanity's greatest adventure. But everyone knew one thing: success or failure, Project Evolution would change the human race forever. The deadly world of DX-2847 waited for them, its purple storms and acid rains ready to either destroy them or forge them into something new. Humanity's greatest test was about to begin. The landing was rough. Even with the best shock absorbers humanity had ever built, the massive ships groaned under DX-2847's brutal gravity. As the dust settled around the 3 vessels, the crew waited nervously in their reinforced suits. The planet's double suns cast an eerie purple light through the toxic clouds above. Tom Reed, the team's lead engineer, checked the readings on his helmet display for the 10th time. "External pressure is twice what we expected," he said through the comm system. "Temperature is hitting 140 degrees, but the canyon walls should give us some protection." Commander Stone's voice came through clear and steady. "All teams, begin deployment sequence. Remember your training. One mistake out there will be your last." The first steps onto the planet's surface were like walking through thick mud while carrying a heavy backpack. Even with their powered suits, the 50 crew members struggled against the crushing gravity. They had trained for this on Earth, but the reality was far worse. Work began immediately. Massive pylons shot deep into the ground, their diamond-tipped drills cutting through rock that could shatter normal steel. As each pylon locked into place, energy shields sprang up between them, creating a protected zone where the team could work. "Look at this," called Dr. Lisa West, the team's geologist. She held up a strange crystal that seemed to pulse with its own light. "The mineral composition here is like nothing we've ever seen. These crystals might be able to power our whole base." But DX 2847 wasn't going to make things easy. On the third day, as they were setting up the main habitat dome, they discovered the planet's first deadly surprise. Small crystals had started growing on John Miller's suit after he brushed against some local rocks. Within hours, the crystals had eaten through his suit's outer layer. The medical team managed to save him, but 3 others weren't so lucky when the same crystals appeared in their suits later that week. Tom Reed worked day and night in the makeshift lab they'd set up, studying the crystal-forming bacteria. "These things aren't just aggressive," he explained to Commander Stone. "They're smart. They adapt to whatever we throw at them, but that gives me an idea." Reed's team developed what he called adaptation pods, chambers that could help humans adjust to the planet's harsh conditions in small steps. The pods used carefully controlled amounts of the crystal bacteria, forcing the human body to develop natural defenses. By the end of the first month, Base Zero had taken shape. The main dome rose 50 meters high, its walls made of local minerals processed into something stronger than Earth's toughest metals. Around it, smaller domes housed laboratories, living quarters, and power stations. The first atmospheric processing tower stood like a giant needle pointing at the toxic sky, slowly converting the poisonous air into something humans might someday breathe. "We've got company," one of the perimeter guards called out one morning. Through the shimmering energy shields, they could see massive shapes moving in the purple haze. The local wildlife had finally noticed them. But the team had prepared for this too. Defensive turrets tracked the creatures, each one bigger than Earth's largest tanks, while scientists studied them through cameras. These monsters had evolved to survive in DX 2847's extreme conditions. Understanding them would be key to humanity's own adaptation. Commander Stone stood in the control room of Base Zero, watching his team at work. They had lost 5 people in the first month, but they had achieved what many thought impossible: a permanent human presence on a Class 14 death world. "Send the signal," he ordered. The communication officer nodded, and a powerful beam shot up through the toxic clouds, carrying their message to Earth. "First foothold established. Base Zero is operational. Send the next wave." As the message traveled through space, the double suns set behind the canyon walls, painting the shield dome in sheets of purple and red. Another deadly night was beginning on humanity's new frontier, but this time, they were ready for it. 6 months into their mission on DX 2847, Base Zero had grown into a sprawling complex of interconnected domes and underground chambers. The population had swelled to 200 as Earth sent more volunteers. But the death world wasn't done testing them yet. Megastorm approaching from the west. The warning system blared one morning. Through the reinforced observation windows, they could see it coming. A wall of purple-black clouds that made Earth's worst hurricanes look like gentle rain. Tom Reed's face went pale as he checked the readings. "The wind speeds are off the charts, And there's something in those clouds, some kind of crystal formation we haven't seen before. Commander Stone's voice came through the base-wide comm system. All personnel to emergency stations. This is not a drill. The storm hit like 1,000 hammers. The shield generators screamed as they tried to hold back winds strong enough to lift mountains. Inside the main dome, people huddled in reinforced shelters, listening to the howling nightmare outside. Then it happened. A section of the main shield flickered and died. Shield failure in Sector 7. Someone shouted. The toxic atmosphere began pouring in through the gap, and the base's automatic lockdown systems slammed emergency doors shut, trapping 30 people in the affected area. Dr. Alice Walker, the head of medical research, was among those trapped. As the deadly air filled the chamber, she and her team rushed to seal their emergency suits. But these weren't designed for direct exposure to the planet's atmosphere. The suits won't last more than an hour in this, she told her team through the comm. But maybe we can use that hour to learn something. While rescue teams worked desperately to restore the shields, Dr. Walker did something incredible. Instead of hiding in a sealed room, she began collecting samples and taking readings of how their bodies were reacting to the extreme conditions. The bacteria in our bodies, the ones we got from the adaptation pods, she reported, her voice growing strained. They're changing. They're trying to help us survive. By the time the rescue teams broke through, most of the trapped people were unconscious. 3 didn't make it. But Dr. Walker's discoveries changed everything. The bacteria they'd been so afraid of 6 months ago weren't just crystal-forming organisms. They were survival machines that could modify living tissue to withstand DX-2847's killing environment. Working from the medical bay where the survivors were recovering, Dr. Walker made the breakthrough they'd been hoping for. The bacteria don't just change our bodies, she explained to Commander Stone. They rebuild them from the inside out. Given enough time and the right conditions, they could help humans actually adapt to this world. The first enhanced humans began their training a week later. 20 volunteers allowed themselves to be infected with carefully controlled doses of the bacteria. The process was painful, but the results were beyond anything they'd hoped for. Their bone density has tripled, Dr. Walker reported. Their muscles are adapting to the gravity. They're even developing natural resistance to the toxic atmosphere. But not everyone was happy about these changes. Some of the base personnel were scared of what their comrades were becoming. Others worried they were no longer truly human. The debate was cut short when the diggers made another discovery. Deep underground, while expanding the base's lower levels, they found something that shouldn't have been there: ruins. Ancient structures made of materials they'd never seen before. And on the walls, drawings that showed creatures remarkably similar to humans. We weren't the first to try living here, Commander Stone said as he studied the ruins. But we're going to be the first to succeed. As if in response to his words, another storm began brewing on the horizon. But this time, they were better prepared. In the training chambers, the first generation of enhanced humans watched the approaching storm with new eyes. They weren't just surviving anymore. They were evolving. 3 deep canyons came together near Base Zero, forming a natural arena. Tom Reed stood at the edge of the new observation post, watching enhanced humans move through the toxic atmosphere below. They were wearing the latest version of his adaptation suits, but these weren't the bulky survival gear of 6 months ago. These suits were thin and flexible, working with the modified bodies of their wearers rather than just protecting them. Testing Area 7 is ready, he reported through his comlink. Send in the first group. Below, 5 enhanced humans entered the arena. Their movements were smooth despite the crushing gravity. Their body armor, made from processed local crystals, sparkled in the purple sunlight. They were part of the 3rd generation of enhanced, and they were about to show just how far humanity had come. The arena's automated systems activated, releasing some of the planet's natural hazards into the testing zone. Acid rain began to fall. The ground split open, releasing toxic gases. Local predator plants emerged from hidden chambers. This was no longer just a training ground. It was humanity's evolution lab. Dr. Walker watched from the medical monitoring station, studying the bioratings from each participant. Their adaptation rates are incredible, she said. The symbiotic bacteria are responding faster than ever. They're not just surviving the conditions, they're thriving in them. The demonstration was interrupted by an unexpected arrival. A military transport from Earth landed at the base's new spaceport, carrying General Mark Thompson and his staff. They had come to see what all the excitement was about. Impressive, the general said as he watched the enhanced humans navigate the deadly obstacles. But can they fight? Commander Stone had been expecting this. Earth's military had been very interested in their progress, especially after reports about the enhanced humans' growing capabilities. "Would you like a closer look?" he asked. The arena's next demonstration changed everything. Enhanced humans didn't just fight. They moved like nothing the general had ever seen. The extreme gravity that would have crushed normal soldiers made their movements more powerful. The toxic atmosphere that would have killed unmodified humans gave them advantages their enemies would never expect. "How soon can we start sending our own people through the adaptation process?" General Thompson asked. But there was more to show. In a sealed chamber beneath the medical bay, Dr. Walker presented her latest breakthrough. Behind a thick window, a baby girl slept peacefully in what looked like a normal crib. But the air in her chamber was a diluted version of DX 2847's atmosphere. The first natural-born enhanced, Dr. Walker explained. Her parents were both second-generation enhanced. She was born 3 weeks ago, and she's already showing natural resistance to the planet's conditions. The base had grown in other ways too. The original dome now served as the center of a sprawling complex. Different zones tested different aspects of adaptation. Some areas pushed the limits of what enhanced humans could endure. Others helped new arrivals begin their transformation safely. "We're calling it the arena now," Commander Stone told the general as they toured the facility. "It's more than just a training ground. It's where humanity's next step is being forged." The military delegation left with pages of notes and plans for their own training programs. But they had missed the most important detail, something Dr. Walker had discovered in her latest tests. The enhanced humans weren't just adapting to survive DX 2847. With each generation, they were getting stronger, smarter, and more resilient in ways no one had predicted. That evening, as the double sun set, Commander Stone met with his senior staff. "Earth thinks we're building them super soldiers," he said. "But we're doing something much more important. We're preparing humanity for whatever the galaxy throws at us next." In the arena below, the next group of volunteers began their transformation. Above them, through gaps in the toxic clouds, the first stars were becoming visible. Somewhere out there, more challenges waited. But this time, humanity would be ready. The deep cave systems beneath Base Zero had always been a mystery. The mining teams kept finding more tunnels, more ruins, and strange marks on the walls that looked almost like writing. But nobody expected what they found in the deepest tunnel yet. Jim Parker, one of the enhanced mining team leaders, was the first to see them. His improved eyes, adapted to the dark conditions of DX 2847, caught movement in the shadows. At first, he thought it was just another of the planet's deadly animals. Then he saw them use tools. "We've got company," he whispered into his comlink. "And they're smart." The creatures emerged from the darkness like living shadows. They were about human-sized but moved with incredible grace, even in the crushing gravity. Their bodies seemed to shift and change color, blending with the cave walls. Most importantly, they were using crystalline weapons and wearing what looked like armor. The first contact could have ended in disaster. But something unexpected happened. The creatures studied the humans with what seemed like curiosity rather than hostility. They too had adapted to the planet's deadly conditions, but in very different ways. Dr. Walker was amazed when she examined the recordings. "Their biology is incredible," she said. "They don't just survive here. They're perfectly evolved for these conditions. They might be what we're trying to become. Commander Stone called an emergency meeting. The base now had over 10,000 inhabitants, most of them going through various stages of enhancement. This discovery changed everything. They're not just animals, he explained to the assembled leaders. They're intelligent beings who've mastered survival on this world. We can learn from them. The next few weeks brought more surprises. The creatures, which they started calling natives, showed interest in human technology. They seemed especially fascinated by the arena training zones. Sometimes they would watch the training sessions from hidden spots, studying how humans were learning to survive in their world. Then came the day when one of the natives actually entered the arena during a training session. Instead of attacking, it mimicked the movements of the enhanced humans, showing them better ways to move in the heavy gravity. It was teaching them. This is amazing, Dr. Walker said as she watched the recordings. They're not just sophisticated tool users. They're willing to share their knowledge. The breakthrough led to a new phase of the project. Some of the native plants, which everyone had thought were just deadly threats, turned out to be carefully cultivated gardens. The crystals that had nearly killed their first team members were actually part of a complex ecosystem that the natives had learned to work with. Earth's governments were both excited and worried about these developments. The arena had already become famous back home, with regular broadcasts showing how humans were adapting to the deadly world. Now, with the discovery of intelligent native life, interest exploded. The whole galaxy just got more complicated, Commander Stone told his staff. But maybe that's exactly what we needed. They began incorporating native survival techniques into their training programs. The enhanced humans learned to move like the shadows, to understand the deadly plants, to work with the crystal formations instead of fighting them. In return, the natives showed growing interest in human technology and building methods. 1 year after first contact, something unprecedented happened. During a particularly difficult arena training session, a group of natives joined the enhanced human team without any invitation. Together, they completed challenges that neither species could have managed alone. As he watched this joint exercise, Commander Stone smiled. "We came here thinking we needed to conquer this world," he said to Dr. Walker. "Instead, it's teaching us how to be better than we ever imagined." The arena was changing. It was no longer just humanity's proving ground. It was becoming a place where two species learned from each other, pushing the boundaries of what was possible on this deadly world that both now call home. The laboratory deep within Base Zero glowed with an eerie purple light. Dr. Walker stood before a row of observation chambers, each containing something that would have seemed impossible just a year ago. Human cells perfectly merged with native biological elements. "Look at this," she said to Commander Stone, pointing to one of the displays. "The native crystal structures aren't just working with our cells anymore. They're becoming part of them. We're not just adapting to this world, we're becoming something entirely new." The breakthrough had come from an unexpected source. A young enhanced child, born on DX-2847, had fallen into a patch of crystal-forming bacteria during a storm. Instead of harming her, the bacteria had bonded with her cells in a way no one had seen before. She wasn't just surviving the planet's deadly environment, she was flourishing in it. "All our previous attempts at genetic modification were too careful," Dr. Walker explained. "We were trying to control everything. But these children born here, they show us that our bodies know how to adapt better than our computers do." The arena had evolved too. What started as a training ground was now Earth's premier testing facility. Military units from every major nation wanted to send their elite forces for training, but not everyone who came here was a soldier. Scientists, explorers, and even civilians were now applying for the adaptation program. The waiting list had grown to thousands. Everyone wanted the advantages that came with enhancement: stronger bodies, sharper senses, and the ability to survive conditions that would kill normal humans. Tom Reed had turned the original adaptation pods into something far more sophisticated. "The new chambers don't just help people survive here," he explained to a group of Earth observers. They unlock potential that was always hidden in human DNA. The extreme conditions of this world force rapid evolution that would have taken millions of years on Earth. The most exciting developments came from studying the planet's native life forms. Working together with the cave-dwelling natives, human scientists discovered that DX-2847's hostile environment had created something unique, a complex web of life that shared genetic material to survive. The whole planet is one giant adaptation engine, Dr. Walker announced during a global broadcast. Every living thing here trades biological information through the crystal networks. Now, we're becoming part of that network. Earth's governments were both thrilled and concerned. The enhanced humans were proving to be exactly what humanity needed for space exploration and colonization. But they were also becoming very different from standard humans. Commander Stone addressed these concerns during a special council meeting. "We're not creating a separate species," he said. "We're opening a door that all of humanity can walk through. The adaptations we develop here can be safely replicated anywhere." The turning point came when they discovered something extraordinary about the enhanced humans who had lived on DX-2847 the longest. They weren't just surviving the planet's deadly conditions. The extreme environment was actually making them healthier. "The constant challenges force our bodies to keep adapting," Dr. Walker explained. "Diseases that plague Earth don't exist here because our enhanced immune systems destroy them instantly. Even aging seems to be slowing down in the enhanced population." The implications were staggering. DX-2847, the deadly world that was supposed to be humanity's last desperate option, was actually healing them, making them better, stronger, more resilient. As the double sun set on another deadly day, Commander Stone stood in the new observation dome, watching enhanced humans and natives working together in the arena below. Earth's most dangerous gamble had paid off in ways no one could have predicted. "Send the message," he told his communications officer. "Tell Earth we're ready to begin full-scale colonization. The arena isn't just a training ground anymore. It's humanity's gateway to the stars." 5 years had passed since the first landing on DX-2847. The planet that once seemed like humanity's last desperate hope now had a new name: Neoterra. Through the reinforced windows of the main observation tower, Commander Stone watched the sunset paint the sky in brilliant shades of purple and gold. Below him, the former Base Zero had grown into a sprawling city of interconnected domes and towers. "Final population count just came in," reported Tom Reed, now the chief of colonial operations. "We've passed 100,000 colonists. There's a waiting list of 500,000 more wanting to come here." The city below them was unlike anything on Earth. Enhanced humans moved freely through the toxic atmosphere, their modified bodies protected by thin, crystal-enhanced suits. Native plants, once deadly threats, now grew in carefully tended gardens, providing food and materials. The cave-dwelling natives had built their own quarter of the city, sharing their ancient knowledge while learning from human technology. In the arena complex, now covering 3 massive canyons, a new group of recruits was going through their first adaptation process. But they weren't just military personnel anymore. Scientists, engineers, artists, and families had come to make this deadly world their home. "Remember when we thought this place would kill us all?" Dr. Walker asked, joining them at the window. She had changed too. Her enhanced body now moved with the same fluid grace as the natives. "Now it's making us stronger than we ever imagined." The latest medical reports proved what they had hoped. The 3rd generation of children born on Neoterra could survive outside the protective domes with minimal protection. Their bodies had naturally adapted to the crushing gravity and toxic atmosphere. Some were even developing abilities that seemed impossible, like being able to sense the crystal networks that connected all life on the planet. "Earth's governments are worried," Commander Stone said, reading from his latest report. "They think we're becoming too different, too independent." But Earth's worries didn't matter much anymore. Neoterra had been officially recognized as an independent human colony with its own government and laws. The arena had become the galaxy's premier training facility, with other human colonies sending their best people to learn survival skills. More importantly, the enhanced humans had started sharing their adaptations. Special medical centers on Earth now offered controlled enhancement procedures, carefully modified to work in Earth's environment. What started as a desperate survival program was becoming a new step in human evolution. The natives had played a huge role in this success. Their understanding of the planet's complex ecosystem had helped humans adapt faster and better than anyone had expected. In return, human technology had helped the natives explore and expand their ancient civilization in new ways. "Look at that," Tom said, pointing to the horizon. Without the usual protective filters, they could see the massive form of one of the planet's largest predators moving along the distant mountains. 5 years ago, such a sight would have caused panic. Now, it was just another part of daily life on Neoterra. A group of children ran past the observation window. Some enhanced human, some native, playing together in an environment that should have been impossible to survive in. They were the future, a generation that didn't see this world as hostile or deadly, but simply as home. Commander Stone smiled as he watched them. "When we first landed here," he said, "we thought we were starting humanity's last chapter. Instead, we were writing the first page of a whole new story." As night fell over Neoterra, the crystal gardens began to glow with their natural light, creating rivers of blue and purple through the city streets. In the arena, new arrivals were taking their first steps toward enhancement, while in the research labs, scientists worked on adapting their discoveries to help other colonies on other worlds. The deadly Class 14 planet had done more than just give humanity a new home. It had shown them a new way forward, a path to becoming something greater than they had ever dreamed possible. And this was just the beginning. "Send the final report to Earth," Commander Stone told his staff. "Tell them Neoterra is no longer an experiment or a survival project. It's humanity's future, and our doors are open to anyone brave enough to join us."